Hello viewers, well it's been a busy couple of weeks with lots going on in the world of racing games. I've gradually been catching up on everything, and one of the big news stories that I was involved in myself as well was a first look at the new Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? It's a game we've been looking forward to for some years, awaiting gameplay year in, year out, new trailers, giving a glimpse, and finally we had a chance to see some gameplay a couple of weeks ago, and I was invited along to be one of the first people to play the game and see the game. So obviously, for those that are unaware, I've been covering racing games for many years. I mean, to think 20 years ago now, 20 years ago this year, I was covering games on television, playing stuff like Need for Speed Underground, which had just been released, or was released later this year, stuff like that. So lots of new games I've been testing for many years, and when the opportunity comes along to test something like this, I'm not going to turn it down. Specifically when it comes to test drive, when I launched this channel years ago, there was a few games that got it off the ground, and Test Drive was one of them. I was playing it when practically no one else was. There wasn't a lot of interest or buzz around Test Drive Unlimited 2, and so I thought, right, the game is a bit clunky. It doesn't have the best graphics in the world. It doesn't have the best physics, but for some reason it has an endearing nature. I like the world it's in. I like cruising. I like exploring. I like the world elements to it and the MMO aspects. You know, the acting was, dialogue was, well, it made me laugh, probably for the wrong reasons, but ultimately I enjoyed it for that. And it just had some fun, quirky, atmospheric styles to it. So I thoroughly enjoyed playing Test Drive years ago. It's one of those games for me that I just really enjoyed, and was really looking forward to this game coming out. And it's a game that is on its own in terms of its structure and its style. So let's take a little look at the presentation. I'm just going to cut through some core bits here. We had a really nice introduction which showed mountain scenes as part of the countdown. Again, this is all from an early version of the game, just using a free camera moving around the island, and I'm going to look at it as I talk to you, because it, just seeing it there, such wonderful detail. It shows the different atmospheric effects in terms of the lighting, the volumetric weather system, the detail of the island, the detail of the foliage and undergrowth. Now, I've mentioned about Kiloton foliage for some years. They do really good foliage, and I've mentioned this on the Isle of Man for a long time, and I can tell you it's all been put to good effect here. Lots to see. Just to point out that street view, we will come back to that later. That is a fantastic, well, we don't see that in the game that we play, obviously, because that's another version. Unfortunately, we'll wait to another day. So once it's no longer pre or alpha, you'll start to see the graphics improve radically. So different versions have different graphics. This version of the game you're seeing on the intro here is not the same graphics, actually an older version, but it's not the same as the version we were playing, which is a shame, because I would like to have shown a bit more of that, and we will at a later date. But let's crack on then. So, Test Drive, you're not knowing what to expect, and suddenly I pop up.
Alan Boyson from Team VVV, journalist, content creator, sim racing and racing game enthusiasts.
Hello viewers.
Yeah, your other two sharps are here.
Hello viewers. Hello viewers. No clue what I was doing in this presentation. It's one of the most random fun events. So we were just brought in, said, right, we're going to literally sat down, no warning of what we were going to do. We're just going to, drive to the locations and have a race. All right, then. There was no character in there. I decided when I was sitting there, I thought, well, if I'm all dressed up, why don't I just become the Sharp character? Why don't we have a bit of Streets versus Sharps banter and just get into it? And at first I was pretty quiet. I didn't really know what I was doing, and then I thought, let's just go for it. Let's be a little bit obnoxious and just be the sort of the rich guy Sharp who's perfect and got it all, and go with the flow there. I enjoyed a bit of this, and we'll just take a look at a bit of the racing.
I like the sound of that. I'll give you guys my car.
Alain, pull off the handbrake.
Let's see what you guys can do.
Wait, I'm on your team.
They're crashing into each other.
Guys, street. I'm blocking them. Go, 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 go. Go.
Where is it going? That's street teamwork there.
Okay.
I just have to show
I'm
them how
closing the
it's
road.
done.
Is it a street strategy to play like
Kabi.
that?
Someone try and knock them off. So I can catch up.
Look at this.
Oh, there goes Black Panther.
So absolute mayhem at the start. Now I have seen some criticism of the way that it was edited and structured. I'm going to talk about that on a separate video. First I'll just go through here and then I'll come back on some of the feedback and I'll talk a bit about the game as we go through. So I've seen some people having a go first at the physics, concerned about the physics. Nothing to worry about there. The crashes that you're seeing on this, I'll talk about the physics in more detail later, but just in terms of what you're seeing there, Gilliam was in the Ford Raptor as a street, and his plan was to take out the Sharps to prevent us from winning. Unfortunately, he missed me. I hit the brakes. We don't know where we're going on these courses. Do bear in mind, I don't know where the hell we're going. I don't know how early my braking point should be for a corner, so you're hitting the brakes perhaps not as early as you should, and there's still work to be done to finish off the handling. There's a bit of understeer in my car at slow speed, which made it quite tricky there, but either way, avoid all the carnage and at turn one and went on from there. And once you're on the motorway, there is a fair amount of traffic, and that traffic does vary, and it will vary between now and the final game. I have no idea how much traffic will be in the final game, though I have seen versions with an awful lot more traffic than we saw in this demo, perhaps because they just wanted to show the demo playing at this stage. Either way, everybody was enjoying themselves. There was just a bit of banter, a bit of chat, nothing scripted. Again, very brave of them to just show an alpha game at this very early stage. I was chasing down Black Panther, Theo there racing along, and what can I say really, put him under a little bit of pressure, got a bit of understeer, needed to come off the power basically. You've got to lift, get yourself into that corner, be a bit more progressive, and of course if you don't, you can go the wrong way. And do remember, we're racing via GPS, which is not always the easiest when you just don't know the track, so there wasn't really practice in there. It was just let's record and go for it, we've got limited time. So getting into the first race, okay, no idea what we're doing, but we'll get into character and we take a look at the first sort of hideout, if you like, the streets sort of base, and wander around their nightclub. The activities that you'll be doing and the characters that you enter from the story mode are obviously not present in this, so there wasn't really showcasing what was going on in a way. What is Radiant? You guys aren't aware yet. How do you get to the streets and the Sharps? You guys aren't aware yet. How do you get these cars? You guys aren't aware yet. So we've kind of gone a long way into the game here. This is like a boss battle that you're seeing from the off. Having a wander around the sort of club and seeing what it's all about, and for me, too noisy, too loud. Nightclubs like that, when you're a teenager, when you're young, it's fine. 11 p.m, the laser lights come on, raise your hands, and then there comes a certain point in life when you just say, do you know, I just like a nice glass of wine in a nice establishment where I can hear somebody speak. So I just took that with me in terms of the character. After that, we had a drive off to the next base. It wasn't so much a race, it was more find your own route there basically, and we had a bit of fun driving all of that. I went off and fixed my car as well. I noticed waiting for Elaine a few moments here.
Elaine, where are you? On your way? Are you coming? Joining us at headquarters?
Just missed the last exit. So. The map guy.
Just on a scenic drive somewhere in Hong Kong. There we are, parking there like a pro, Elaine. That's nice to see. Beautiful. That is beautiful. That's classy. Classy when it's classy, and not when it's not. Well, when they do it. But that's good. It's good to see. Lovely.
All while, in particular, Alex was going for a scenic tour of the islands. Alex is a super fan, and he just wanted to see all of the islands and see it running. So we're now at the Sharps base, and of course I do my little tour and I make up a bit of spiel about it.
This is a place to meet and do business and meet those with superior machinery. So as you can see here, lots to see and do in the club, and appreciate the wonderful architecture of a superior location. We also have a pool as well as a VIP area, which I'm going to head off to now. Obviously you're not invited because you're simply not good enough. So we'll wander off to the VIP area. Elaine and Camille, if you'd like to join me. We'll just leave the rabble to the bar there, and perhaps when they get good enough, they might become a sharp. But,
So, when you say good enough, have you actually looked at the screen?
I can't help it, guys. You know, I mean, listen, it takes experience to get to this point. I have plenty of experience. And here I am in the VIP area. This is the bit you can't get to here. Lovely views. This is where the special people meet up. And of course, swimming pool as well, if you want to cool off. There's a fantastic view.
Again, I don't know how it's all going to tie in with the storyline. Make something up, you know, when you're in TV, you make something up, make up a bit of banter, and away you go. Nice little tour of the environment. I think the first thing that's impressive in its own way is the scale of the environments are all very large. They're all designed for lots of people wandering around. So when you see the final thing online, there's lots of features that aren't available yet. And when I go back to think of the hotel foyer, for example, none of that is active. All the cars that are going to be there, the people, the stuff on display, it's all going to change tremendously between now and launch. So it's nice having that little tour. Then back in our cars, you know, let's have a race. So Theo, let's have a race. We go for a final race session, and we ran this race twice actually. I won it the first time, and the streets weren't happy, and I won it again. So that was it. Best of three. I've won them both. You know, for me, I really enjoyed the whole run. There was so much that we didn't show. Obviously, in terms of the video, I don't produce the video in terms of the editing or the structure. But I enjoyed my play, just getting through and enjoying my time on it. And it was wonderful and a privilege to be a part of, coming back from what I was doing years ago and now being a part of this. I have to admit, to the ending, I didn't really know what to say, because when Vivian, shall we say, was asking us questions, Melly, I didn't know if I was supposed to be in character or what was the situation there. Do I stay as a sharp, or do I answer it as myself? And I figured, well, let's just stay sort of sharpish and go from there. But yeah, the whole experience was wonderful to get an early look at the city and see some gameplay and go from there. Of course, when you're recording the event, you don't know how it's going to be edited, how it's going to be portrayed, what the presentation's going to be, and there were some areas of the presentation that's been wasn't necessarily the optimum. So I'm going to talk a bit about that now at the end of the video. But either way, in terms of what I've seen of Test Drive, a full test drive game, it is a full test drive game, full experience, and there's lots and lots we couldn't show and lots to look forward to, but there's a lot of work to do on the game. And I say well done to the developers for showing early gameplay. They've been very brave in doing what they did. They've shocked a lot of people, and now it's a case of, you know, probably more structured trailer content in the future, whatever they go with. But it was good to be a part of. So now it's a case of answering a few of your questions in the areas where you have concerns.
Someone gave the Porsche to the wrong driver.
Power.
No. Get me
Where are you guys anyway? Are you racing? Or
Stay away from me, Guillaume.
I'm coming. You are driving well. Oh no,
Alan, as long as I beat you, I'm just gonna have to assume that Tenerife should be like a DLC or something.
Oof.
And over the line. Again, the sharps win, and they show how it's done.
So that was all great to be a part of. The stage looked fantastic, all the screens and the detail that was there, and it was nice to showcase it in this way. Of course, there's a lot of things we'd like to have shown: steering wheels, cruising, game progression, but of course none of that's in sort of my power, our power. I'm just there to turn up, play the game and see what it's all about and give you some feedback. So I'm going to go through some feedback now. And what I've done is I've gone through some of the questions. I've been on various forums. I've been answering on various YouTube videos, trying to answer people's questions, trying to be decent with people where possible, though some people aren't very decent in return. It's quite strange, some of the attitudes I've sort of encountered from a few people who are negative, and they've been given assumptions as facts and they won't see it when you actually give them the facts. They just won't acknowledge that they were duped or wrong in the first place. It's quite strange out there at the moment, so I'm going to give you some feedback and information from me. I think firstly we're just going to talk about the frame rate. The frame rate of the presentation was not where it should have been. It should have been 60 FPS gameplay. That's what they should have been showcasing for the first gameplay on the game. It makes a tremendous difference to the experience when you're actually playing it. We were not playing at 10 FPS. I can assure you, we were playing at 1080p 60-ish. I say 60, it started at that. It probably started to go down as the day went on and the PCs were overheating. I was sweating buckets and really struggling with dehydration at the end of the day. The final game will run, you know, as you expect. If you have a high-powered PC, turn everything up, you know, you'll still have 60 FPS or whatever frame rate your PC can manage. Console versions, there's good work going into those as well, and an announcement on all that later. Graphics are not finished yet, so the lighting system you're seeing is not finished. The only time you see the lighting system, as it probably will be, is in the intro and that moving down the street, which makes a radical difference. And when you see the final game, hopefully it will blow you away. When comparing graphics, you have to have a reference point of contact, reference point. And at the moment, people are using Forza and Gran Turismo as a reference. They are industry leaders in terms of graphics, but I don't necessarily think that's fair for Kiloton because of the size of the studio. But rate it however you should. Either way, they rate themselves and they're pushing to be as great as they can be to move the studio forward. And I think it looks pretty darn stunning when you see the final effects. So we're not seeing the final graphics or lighting. That's a bit of a shame. I would really like you've seen something there, but it gives you something to look forward to in the future. Game structure has been talked about a lot online. I've noticed that some YouTubers have really attacked the game structure for not having the car wash, not having houses, for giving cars away like sweets. Very strange. So the car wash can't be in the game because the bikini car wash in Test Drive Unlimited 2 obviously wouldn't be appropriate today. I'm going to make a separate video about that, talking about it, because it's all a bit out of hand. The houses thing as well some people are getting a bit crazy about how important the houses were. I'm aware of how much people use the houses, which wasn't very much, but either way, you've got a flat now, which is your own flat. It's a different system. They've designed it this way. The houses are coming later. They have a better system for the houses than they had before. They wanted to do something new, something better, and it's going to take longer to do. And it seems that these so-called fans are bashing them for having more ambition than they've had in the past. That's pretty sad. But either way, they are working on the houses and they have an exciting plan for the future on that. Again, if it didn't take so damn long to make all this stuff and they could click their fingers, it would be fine. But this stuff takes a long time, and with a small development team, certain resource, the resources are on different things. If you see the resource and the way it's allocated, it's tough for these guys. They're doing an amazing job. The car selection is pretty darn impressive, and the cars really look nice, very nicely modelled. So, and with the car detail, it's all in there as well. Open windows, windscreen wipers, your roof, change your roof, open and close it. There's lots of little details. All the details on the car are in there, as well as the radio stations. I mentioned let's go to the radio stations. Several radio stations, 10 hours of music per station, kick-ass music on there as well. Retro FM for the win. Love the music in the game. Again, just lots of options. And you can tune in. It's server based. So if we're playing on the same server and we tune into the same radio station, we'll be hearing the same tunes being broadcast. Good stuff. Lots in there as well. In terms of game structure, the houses and the flats thing, you've got a flat to live in, it's fine. You'll work your way up. There's some very impressive apartments to see. They have some unique elements to them as well. Lots to look forward to there. The game structure, for those worried, it is a test drive game. You will start off with a standard road car and work your way up. Some people don't know what I mean by standard road cars. I mean the cars you see going down the road. Standard. Yeah, not Lamborghinis, Ferraris and Bugattis driving down the road. They wouldn't be standard cars, and it's quite confusing for people these days. Again, perhaps that needs further explanation for people. Handling and car options. So obviously the handling has been a big concern to a lot of people. They say it looks arcade, it looks like Forza, it looks arcade, and it's hard to show people, especially with incomplete games. There's a couple of things in the Lamborghini I was driving, for example. There's some brake sensitivity issues they need to get rid of, some brake locking. There's some understeer in the car at slow speeds. All of that will be dialed out, or should be, in the final game. It's been discussed, it's been noted, and they know where they're going with speed sensitivity just to get it right. It's tricky getting the balance right on the handling. Again, this is an early version, and all of that is being worked on. I can tell you right now, radical improvements are being made to the handling all the time. When you look at the achievements they made in WRC, it's all coming together very nicely. There are nice braking distances before the corner. Weight transfer is working well. Different tyres make a big effect. Lots to look forward to in the handling, so I wouldn't worry about that. It's a far more involved driving experience than, you know, say Forza or the Crew Motorfest. It's a completely different game, and I don't even see them as rivals. They've got an open world, completely different. It's not the one-to-one scale with the full detail that you're seeing here. The detail here, despite the size of the map on paper, I mean, you could have Pure and say Pure is the best map in video gaming. No, it's not. And you know, the amount of road, the amount to discover, it's a hell of a place. You will drive to that map and you will want to investigate every aspect of it. You'll say, what's down that street? What's down there? What's up that tunnel? There's loads to explore. And that's what I really like about this map, is the amount of buildings and stuff they've got for people to discover. But back to cars. So car handling, nice feeling of weight transfer going around the corners, nice feeling of suspension. The Lamborghini I was driving, for example, very low to the ground, wasn't very good at crossing over the central divide, for example. So you'll see when I go over the central divide, it causes a lot of instability in the car. So ideally, maybe I would go offline in terms of following the racing line and take a different line around a corner. But either way, I'm just following the line. Why am I following the line like that? Well, I had no clue where I was going. Yeah, I'm racing by GPS here on a very complicated road system, and I'm following that line like glue. I see multiple roads and multiple lanes in front of me, and I'm thinking, leading a race, because I've got no cars to follow, where the hell am I going? What the hell am I doing? So you are following that line like glue, and if that means crossing through a bush or through a couple of railings, and so be it. They will slow you down, the railings, and in the Lamborghini they unbalance the car quite substantially. So throughout the video you'll have seen I don't tend to hit any obstacles where possible. I tend to avoid everything driving around. One of the only times that traffic light and hitting those bollards trying to overtake Camille, I saw her there. I thought I'd give her a wide berth rather than going straight down, because I went straight down the middle of the road, likely she'd have hit me, bounced into the tunnel, and then Sharps would have lost or something. So I thought, no, I will give her the wide berth there. And it all works pretty well. A lot of people had difficulty driving. I think people, just the way they picked up the controller and they picked up the handling, had a different vibe. You have to remember, I was a big, well, the PGR3 esports player years ago. Did all of that. PGR3 esports team VVV was a Project Gotham racing esports team. So for me, it felt very much like going back to Project Gotham racing. And I guess there's some elements of Project Gotham in there. It's just longer braking distances than you had there, but it worked well, and it got my head into the right place in terms of taking it calm and slow through the corners, getting on the power, braking, counting for the understeer. So because I had some understeer in the car, I'm steering early into the corner. I'm making a guess of where I need to steer in, and then using the power to push the car out a little bit on the exit. And that's how it worked for me working around the courses. But with the lumps and bumps, it made it very difficult with the car because it could get beached very easily. Note that the Ford Raptor was racing on slick tyres, had a lot of power as well, great in a straight line. So taking a bit of time, really need to get a feel for the controls and what works for you. When the final game comes along, I'll be using a wheel. What I've seen of the wheel handling so far, very encouraging. Moves on from what they had in WRC Generations. I'm quite happy with that. Cruising around the city with the traffic, tremendous. Love it. So in terms of car handling, not like Forza Horizon, not like the Crew Motorfest. Got a lot more depth to it. nothing to worry about. I mean, obviously they could change it later and change it to a complete arcade game, but I don't think they will, because this is the direction that we're on. And yeah, I'm happy when you guys get to test it at a later date. So graphics, frame rate fixed, handling, that's all right. Game structure, it's all test drive in there. Start with your car, go to your showrooms, progress, increase your levels, discover stuff on the map, and the storyline. You've not seen anything of the storyline yet. The storyline is a key part of who you are as a driver, how you move forward and become, and whether you eventually evolve to the streets, the underworld of the streets, or the sharps, and the characters that are in both camps. And then you'll see where my character came from in terms of the overall my approach to dealing with that. So those are the key questions in terms of the game. I'm sure there's many questions. If you have questions, do put them into the comments below, and I'll come back on your comments chat. So a few things to point out just on the overall event as well. Nobody paid for our opinions. You can't pay for my opinions. Luckily the game wasn't trash, and I enjoyed it, but if it was, I couldn't tell you it was a good game if I thought it was terrible. They didn't invite influencers. People were talking about the invited influencers. I actually didn't. It was 3 games developers. I guess you could call Theo Black Panther. He won't mind me calling him an influencer because he has a large amount of subscribers. And once you cross about 150,000 subs, you become technically an influencer. If you're below that, you're not. I've heard different numbers for where someone is called an influencer. But either way, I consider myself a journalist in video games. It's what I've been doing for the last 25 years. Alex is a test drive fan, and the reason why we were both invited was because we were not only fans of the original game, but they wanted actual feedback from us that they were creating an accurate test drive experience. And there were a few areas that they missed, and Alex highlighted to them areas that I wasn't necessarily aware of, that these are key aspects, and there are some things which are in the game, some things which weren't, which will now be in the game. So there's really good feedback, direct meetings, be critical, let's find out where the strengths and weaknesses are. For me, my core is always car handling and the driving experience. I want to cruise, I want to enjoy the driving, on-road, off-road, races, time trials, just general exploring. I just want that driving feeling to be just right, and there's still work to do, but they're listening and they're making the right noises. So in terms of people they invited, it was nice to be there with people who are passionate about test drive, and pleased to see how it's coming together, even though the presentation wasn't necessarily showing all of that structurally. I think the environmental damage is really impressive as well. Some people were really critical, but they've added a lot more railings and traffic lights and all kinds of things, bushes and all kinds of bits and pieces that you can rubbish on the streets that you can knock out of the way now. So there is a lot of particle effects. A lot of it wasn't necessarily getting the credit it deserved. People were annoyed to see people crashing. Listen, play the game you like, the way you like. You know, some people just like to play games and crash all the time. Some people like to have clean driving, and that's a big part of the streets and the sharps. You know, very different types of players. It's an alpha build. I'm reading some answers I gave here on GT Planet actually. It's an alpha build, so still not all the stuff is in the game yet. They're still putting stuff in the game. Once they put everything in the game, then the polishing, bug testing and optimization process really begins. Visually, games come together quite late in development, and I'm surprised at how few gamers actually seem to understand the game development process, and how few gamers, when I say gamers I mean YouTubers who review games, how few of them actually understand. They have no understanding of game development, of how a game comes together in the final months, of the challenges game developers face. They directly compare companies that have £1 billion or $1 billion developments with those with $1 million developments, and it's quite interesting to see how off they are in so many areas. I'm just going to give you an analogy on that. If Red Bull win a Formula 1 race, you say, yep, you expected to. If Alex Albon won in a Williams, let's not even say that. Let's say Alex Albon came third in a Williams. That would be an incredible triumph, and we would celebrate that triumph. It's not a win, it's not a world championship, but it's an incredible triumph for that team. So we give credit where it is due. this is something that a lot of people don't seem to be able to do these days, is give credit where it is due. So this is a small team punching well above their weight and attempting to deliver in a way. It's very hard, and it's amazing how many journalists and YouTubers just don't seem to have any kind of barometer in terms of scale these days. It's almost concerning, and also to see the assumptions that some people have had that because you see fast cars, they say it looks like Forza. Why? Because there are sports cars there, and that's not test drive or something. I don't know where this Forza thing comes from. People have made assumptions that it's easy to get the cars. It's not. Those cars we were driving, the car I was driving, will take you a long time to play and earn. You know, you bond with your car, you upgrade that car, you do many races with that car. You'll be sad to let go of that car at some point, depending if you're going to keep upgrading and pushing it because you're happy with it, or do you decide, you know, I've gone for a test drive in another car and I'm going to go for it. Sometimes you'll unlock a new car showroom, and you'll test all the cars out in that showroom, and you'll see a car and you'll think, that is on my wish list, that is the car I want, and you'll just save until you get there. You know, it really depends on your style of play. So that's all good. Let's see. So there's other elements to be discussed later. Obviously, we saw the gas stations shown briefly. Casinos will be talked about later, and weather system obviously will be shown later as well when they showcase the final graphics. So in terms of test drive, it's all in there. There's everything in there. You will earn your cars. You will have your place. You will put everything together. You will learn about all the new modes. The online modes will be showcased later. There's a lot to explore, but a lot of people have made judgments. It's like, I think the thing I think is most frustrating for me watching it has been people have seen the frame rate. If only they'd shown it at 60 FPS, it would have got a lot less grief, I think, if they'd actually shown a full FPS version instead of it seems to have recorded and edited at 1080p 25, and that unfortunately does lose a lot of polish. So I'm Mr. 60 FPS. I've mentioned this in many trailers on my channel. It's not the first time. It is frustrating to see it, but I will answer as many of your questions as possible. Now, I have been going online. I have looked at various different YouTubers and what they've had to say. I've tried to reason with some of them in some way and their audience, and it's been impossible, absolutely impossible. They're not willing to listen to anything I've got to say. I was there, therefore anything I say just isn't true. It's concerning when you see YouTubers making up stories and people believing the made up stories rather than the truth that I'm putting to them. So some people really believe you can just get the cars really easily right now and other stuff like that. They just won't hear it any other way. It's going to be very strange because I'm going to go back to some of these posts when the final game's released, and I'm going to show you the stupidness and some of the nonsense that YouTubers are spouting as truth. It really has been interesting to see it from the developer's side. You know, normally I'm the person here moaning about new racing games most of the time, saying they should fix this and fix this and fix that. But at least when I do it, it's based on observational facts. It's not based on my assumption of what it should be. It's look at that. That is an observational fact there. You know, if there's further information, they can come to me. But I've seen stuff where they don't have the observational facts and they're just making things up that they can't see. And that's the area I think that's a little bit concerning. It's been quite interesting to learn about, see it from another side. But that's it for me. I as I say, it was a great experience. I think the game's looking really good behind the scenes, even though you may not have seen it all in that particular demonstration. It's in a good place. But what's really important is they finished the game. And if there comes to be feedback that's imperative, and you look at that feedback and you say that has got to be fixed before the launch, and they say that's going to take another 6 months, delay it by 6 months then. There's no point in releasing it if it doesn't have a key feature in that's critical to the test drive experience. It's the same with the bugs and stuff like that. We need to have a game that's solid, and if it means beta test after beta test to get it right, so be it. Let's make sure when that game comes out, it's everything it can be, it's solid, and the same thing doesn't happen to it. It happened to Test Drive Unlimited 2 when they were all broke on release. And I say a similar one is actually Drive Club. Similar game, released in a bit of a broken state. 6 months later, it was amazing. By then, the game was already finished and written off by Sony, and we've lost a good title there, which was a bit of a shame. In terms of open world experiences, it's its own thing. Test Drive now, you know, I guess playing it took me back to playing Test Drive 2, but also Drive of San Francisco. It gave me that sort of wonderful vibe of that city. The car handling, there's a lot in there. I'm pretty positive, and you'll find out yourself when you get to play the game eventually. But either way, I will do my level best to answer all of your questions where I can now and in the future, show you gameplay of the areas you might have concerns on, and either way we'll all see the game in the end and see what it's all about. But that's it from me for now. Oh, I might have some more content coming soon actually. I might have an interview with Alain Jarnoux. I've had the interview, but I'm waiting for some various elements so I can see when I can showcase. There's no point talking about this stuff now. I need to be able to show you. So when I can actually show you some elements, that interview may go up as well. But that's it from me for now. As ever, more soon.